Hey, what's up guys, and welcome in this new tutorial where I'm gonna show you 3 essential gain staging techniques for your Tech House tracks. So before starting with this tutorial, I would like to remind you that all of the samples are from our new minimal deep tech pack called the Rapture Volume 5, which is a collection of one-shots, loops, construction kits and much more. You can check out from the link in the description below. So first of all, we are gonna talk about what is gain staging and what we're gonna do in this video. So gain staging is basically making sure that we have the right gain before going into the mixing and mastering part of the production process. So you have to be sure that you're not clipping and that the input and output signal of your tracks is consistent. Also, you have to make sure that you have enough headroom before going into the mastering. So we're gonna have a listen to this track and we're gonna see a few things about it. So everything looks fine here, but there are actually many problems that will cause some even bigger problems in the mixing and mastering stage. So the first thing is, let's take a look at the limiter. As you can see, the limiter is doing a little bit of gain reduction. This means that if we turn off the limiter, we're gonna see some clipping happening on the master channel. And as you can see, the master is red. So what a lot of you would do in this case is simply gonna be picking a utility and now reducing maybe 6 dB on the master. And as you can see, no more clipping here. We also have a bit of headroom. So you think that you fixed the problem, but actually this is not the case. And I'm gonna explain you why in this tutorial. So you have to be sure that you're not clipping on the master channel, but most importantly on the single channels. And also you have to be sure that all the processing that you're doing doesn't have some initial clipping, meaning that if we go, for example, into the saturator, we had some drive. When we go into the glue compressor, we're gonna make sure that we have the same gain that we had before the saturation, and so on with all the different processing. So the first thing that we're gonna do in this tutorial is gonna be picking all of the tracks and putting them to 0. Obviously, if you are gonna play the track right now, it would sound like a total mess, but we're gonna start with the kick drum. We're gonna disable all of the processing and we're gonna see how much headroom we have here. So here we have minus 7 dBs because we're basically using the kick inside of the sampler, which as standard comes with the volume reduction of minus 12 dB. I always start with the kick and I make sure that the kick is between minus 6 to minus 8, 10 dB, so that we have a good starting point for the following steps. I think right now we're good. Maybe we can reduce it a couple of dBs more. So yeah, around minus 10 is fine. And then we can go forward with the processing. First thing is an SSL channel. Here we're mainly using the EQ functions. And as you can see, we have a slight increase of gain here of around 0.6 to 0.7 dB, which we're gonna immediately compensate with the output fader on the SSL. So as you can see, before and after the same game. You don't have to have exactly the same, but more or less stay in that range. Then we have a transient master. Here also we are reducing the sustain and increasing the attack, therefore boosting some of the gain. And here we also have to reduce it by 0.7. Perfect. And the final thing here is the saturator. And as you can see, this one is actually adding a lot of gain. So here we're gonna reduce it by 1.5 dB, let's say. Maybe 2. And we are basically at the same gain that we started with. So let's do before and after. like this. And that's basically what gain staging means. So making sure that we are not distorting in each of the step and that we have the same gain. You can hear the much bigger effect here on the bass loop. If we remove the compressor, you can hear that after the saturator, the channel is clipping, and we don't want to do that because it's basically canceling the clipping. Processing that is getting done by the compressor is gonna be influenced by the distortion that is created by the clipping. So what you want to do here is disable everything and set the gain of the baseline from the source level so that you have enough headroom to then do the processing. How you do that? Simply go here and reduce the gain. We're gonna stay more or less at the same gain of the kick drum. I'm gonna add EQ. Cutting the very top, so here we are basically at the same level. Then we have the saturation. We're adding a bit of gain here, we can reduce about half a dB. And then as you can see, we have to push threshold a bit lower because we are actually entering the compression at a lower volume than before. Then the final plugin is the sidechain, which doesn't affect the dB and the loudness of the track. And so this is it for the first two channels. Then we move forward with the top loop, for example. Here we only have a cut on the clap area, so here we're just gonna reduce the source. And then we're gonna go into the hi-hats. Here we have another really interesting example. So as you can see, the channel is clipping because we have this boost on the mid top with the Pro Q3. So here we are obviously gonna have to reduce the source, and you will see that all of this will be fixed. As you can see, no more clipping, and then we have the Pro Q3 going on, but we still have to adjust the output level with the input. So let's hear the input. We're getting 1 dB more or less of gain increase because of this boost, so we're gonna take it down. And we are at the same level once again. So let's reduce a bit of the gain a little bit more. Then we have the percussion. Here very straightforward, we don't have any processing. And then we go into another interesting section, which is going to be the synths. And here it's interesting because we are not dealing with audio files, but we're dealing with the synthesizer, which is Serum in this case. And also here we are way too loud, we don't have any headroom, so let's remove this. We are at -2 dB, which is not really ideal, so we're gonna have to put the master down at least -20 dB. And the reason why all of these presets and loops are so loud when you start with is because you want the volumes of these loops and presets to be consistent in the creative process, so that you don't have to think too much about gain staging and setting the right levels. But when you get into the more technical parts of music production, you have to really be sure that you're following these steps in order to gain stage them properly, so that you have the right foundation for your mix and mastering. And here you can see the problem even more. So when we have like the master of the serum which is already going red, so you have to be really careful here as well. Let me remove the effects. Let's add the EQ. As you can hear, this Luftigus is adding quite a lot of gain, so we have to use the trim knob. And then we have the delay. So now that we have done the gain staging on all of the tracks, let's have a listen. So this is what you get after the gain staging process before going into the mixing. And now you can use the fader to do the final adjustments on the volumes so that you can find the right balance between all of the different tracks. So as you can see, now we have an healthy headroom here to go with, and we can test that this method is working by simply enabling the one-to-one function here of the Pro L2. This automatically compensates the increase with decreasing gain so that you can hear when you are distorting. As you can see, we are reaching some very loud levels without distorting, just because of the gain staging that we did on all of the tracks before, and this wouldn't be possible with the previous setup. So what we had at the beginning of the mixing session, which is what we started with before going into the gain staging process. So yeah, that's all for this tutorial. Don't forget to check out Rapture Volume 5 from the link in the description below. Let us know what tutorials would you like to see next, and I'll see you soon. Bye.